we're just going to get started here. And, okay, everyone, please introduce yourself and explain what it is that you do.
Hello. I'm Roslyn. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, I'm Roslyn Karamoko, and I am the founder and director of Detroit is the New Black. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Perfect. I'm Roslyn Karamoko, and I'm the owner and founder of Detroit is the New Black. It's an apparel and accessories company that I launched about a year ago, but really started going properly about 6 months ago. I started online and eventually opened a physical brick and mortar space in Midtown Detroit about a couple months ago. So it's located on East Forest between Woodward and John R. And just starting to get sort of my social media and online presence going. And I also was a participant in the fall 2013 Build Entrepreneurship Program, which is how I know April and how I was invited to this panel. So thanks for having me.
First, I want to say I'm upset because I can't be a part of I'm Young Detroit because I'm over 40.
Oh, yes, you
So,
can. Yes, you can.
Somebody needs to start I Am Old Detroit.
I have that domain, by the way.
At any rate, we'll talk about that later. But hi, I'm excited to be here. My name is Marlin Page. Just quickly, I started my career off as a mortician. Got a little bored with that. So I went to Canfield Corporation where I became a mainframe programmer. So I started off back in the day writing COBOL, JCL, doing a lot of work behind the scenes on ATMs. Went through corporate America, fast forwarding a lot here. And I started a technology staffing company about 8 years ago. And because coding was definitely changed my life, I started an organization a year and a half ago called Sisters Code. And Sisters Code is where women who are 25 to 85 can come learn to code. It's an exciting experience. And then on top of that, I also work full-time at Chrysler Corporation. I'm over organizational development and talent management for manufacturing. That's all I do. That's it. That's all.
Hi, I'm Sal Bono. I also, oddly enough, was a mortician. I'm just kidding. But no, I actually I moved here from San Francisco about 3 years ago. We launched Canfield Creative Studio. And our focus is to help small businesses, small to medium businesses, and we're really focused on entrepreneurs and helping entrepreneurs to build and grow and develop their business creatively. So we handle every, we consult and handle every part of the creative process, from building websites to social, managing and building your social media presence to video production and graphic design. I mean, we're a full service, boutique creative suite. But our goal is really the entrepreneur. Our goal is to sit down with each and every person individually, have them managed by a project manager, and really focus on what's best for that company. We really pride ourselves on not just being, we're not a vendor. We're not like Coca-Cola where you just call us up and say, hey, we need to order 2 more cases of Coke. We really partner with you because our goal is your success. And so we really focus on sitting down with each entrepreneur or each small to medium business owner in general and really focus on what's best for you and coming up with a long-term growth plan and what we can implement and how we can creatively help you to build and to grow and to develop your digital presence. So.
Thank you. And everyone, you should have little note cards on your table. Thank you. You can write down questions that you want to ask our panelists at the end. So please do that. So the first question is, what's the importance of having a strong web and social media presence if you're a small business in Detroit?
So important. I mean, this, I think, is where the majority of people in 2015 are really spending a large majority of their day shopping and browsing and otherwise. So I think, if you're not online, you're really missing out on a huge chunk of business. I read somewhere that for every one online interaction, it's converting into 2 offline sales. So for even if you just have a brick and mortar business that you're not necessarily selling online, for you to have an online presence and have that platform for someone to go to and understand, where you're located or what your product is, may certainly drive some traffic to your physical space. So being online, I think, is critical to any new business. in this, today's age.
So I was sitting with a client, well, it was probably about a month ago now, and we were talking about the importance of maintaining a good web and social media presence, especially social media, because they were not sold on investing in their social media presence at all. And we were really talking about reaching. Their goals are to reach, a new generation and reach. They're really throwing out all this speak that says, hey, you really need to be focused on social media. You really need to be focused on building your presence, because that's where all of the people you want to reach, that's where they're at. And so they're like, well, I'm not totally convinced. And so they turned to the one of their staff members who was in a chair on the kind of the other side of the office. And they called out to him. They said, hey, what do you think? Do you think we need to be more on social media? And the guy looks up from his phone. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was on Facebook. And it was kind of one of those things where it was like it was a light bulb moment for them, where they realized, like, okay, this is really important. And where we used to spend so much time and so much energy and so much money in developing our presence, our physical presence in our physical space, we really need to start, if we want to start reaching and growing and reaching new people and new clientele, we really need to realize that they're already out there. They're already, your clients and your customers, they're already on Facebook. They're already on Twitter. They're already on Instagram. The problem is trying to get them to follow your Facebook and your Twitter and your Instagram. And so how do we create and develop content that people are going to want to ingest and people are going to want to follow, and develop enough of it where they see 3 or 4 posts and they say, okay, this is somebody I want to actually like now, so let me click the like button, or this is somebody I actually want to follow, let me follow them on Twitter, or whatever the case might be. And that's really, really, really important. There are so many different ways to connect with people in 2015. And I think that more and more, and I have 3 kids. I have 4 kids. I have 4 daughters. Our youngest is, you can forgive me, my youngest is 4 months old, so she's relatively new. Okay, so I have 4 kids, but my oldest, she's in middle school. My oldest is in middle school, and the more I look at her, and the more I realize, like, we are raising a generation of people who are really good at being social online, but not very good at being social in person. And that's the thing. As business owners, it's our responsibility to look at that and say, okay, that's not something that's changing, and that's not something that's going away. So we can, there are things that we can do to try to correct that and try to correct that problem. But as business owners, we need to take advantage of it while it's there, and realize that these kids and these people, as they grow and as they develop and as they become consumers, they're so involved and engaged in social media, they'll walk right by your store because their nose is in their phone. And so we really need to be focused on being where they're at and creating content that is going to drive them to notice you, and to really, want to interact with what it is that you have to offer as a business in 2015.
Did you want to add something, Marlin?
You can ask another question.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Okay. So in that, and engaging with customers and using social media to do that, what are some of your favorite local examples? Because I know there's tons of companies out there, but what about locally? Like, who in Detroit do you think is really like kicking butt when it comes to social media and engaging with customers? Anyone?
I would probably say like some local restaurants. Can I
Sure.
name them even though I'm in a restaurant? No, I won't. So I would.
Go ahead.
One of my favorites besides Cliff Bell's. Cliff Bell's is my
Yes.
favorite. It's being taped, right? Like Sava. Yes, they do an awesome job, of sending me things, of the presentation of the food is amazing, the ease of ordering is amazing, and so even on my laziest day, when I don't know exactly what I want, that is always my go-to because it's so easy. So that's definitely one of mine.
Okay. So what about on the web? Is there anything that Seva does like on the web is it the presentation of the photos?
It's the presentation of the photos, but okay, so it goes back a little bit deeper, goes back to the first question a little bit.
Okay.
So it is, although they're selling food,
Yes.
they are also selling this presence. It's more about their brand, their presence. I want to go there. I want to be there. The pictures are inviting. I know what I'm getting. It's always consistent. Everything is there, from pricing to ordering online, just to everything. Socially, if I tweet something, they're retweeting it, which makes me very happy. I like to be retweeted. If I say I'm eating this tempeh burger and it's really good, and they retweet it. So it's just even the small things like that that they're doing that really makes a huge difference, I believe.
Cool.
Trisha's Garage, on the fashion retail side of things, she's done an incredible job online with her social media and even her email blast. She's very consistent. So I think she uses MailChimp or something, one of these online sort of automated email programs. So basically, she's sending emails every week, a couple times a week, and it's so consistent that you know that it's coming and you look forward to it. So every Tuesday, I'm going to get an email from Trisha's Garage. She's going to have some insight on fashion, whether it be a fit chart or this is your body type, so this is what you should be wearing. And then she always has the follow-up with her product that matches sort of that body type. And so it is that personalized experience and something that's consistent, and you know that it's coming, and you know that's what this company stands for. So I think the emails on a consistent basis are something that Trisha's Garage is doing well, and that all companies can maybe benefit
So
from.
she's offering some value outside of
Sure.
even the products that she sells.
Absolutely.
So that's cool.
Yep.
I think, well, actually, that was one of my tops was Ebony over at Trisha's Garage. She does a fantastic job keeping up with her email marketing and things like that. And one of the things that I think is so important is realizing that, so when it comes to, like, let's say social media, when it comes to social media, your social, it's not a rotating billboard. Your Facebook page is not a rotating billboard, and everything you post should not be your latest sale or your latest product or your latest, you have to remember, like, why are people on Facebook or Twitter in the first place? What are they there to do? They're not there to look at advertisements. It's kind of like it's like when TiVo and DVR came into play. Nobody wanted to watch commercials anymore, right? Everybody wanted to I want to watch my show after it's already been recorded so I can fast forward through the commercials. Nobody's on Facebook to see your advertisements. They're on Facebook to engage with whatever content it is you have to give. So I think it's important to look, when we look at companies that do a great job strategically on social media, we need to think, what are those companies that are out there that are putting out not just like, hey, here's our latest T-shirt, or here's our latest, this is the steak that we're cooking today, or this is what we have on the menu. It's that are not looking at social media as an advertising platform, a free advertising platform, but they're looking at it to be social. And I think one of the companies that does an amazing job of that is the Detroit Bus Company, and they have the following to prove it. They've gone out there, they're plugging restaurants. They may have a tour going on, and they'll start sharing, like, here's specials at this restaurant, and here's this at that restaurant. And I think they do a fantastic job of just trying to engage people through their content, and putting out some things that people want to see and want to be a part of and want to hear about, and then delivering later on with some product that say, hey, you like that? Why not join our taco crawl, or why not come on this bar crawl or whatever with us? But I think they do a great job of utilizing content to drive connection and drive commitment to their brand. So
Cool. Now, all of these companies that you mentioned, Trisha's Garage, Seva, Detroit Bus Company, they all kind of have a unique voice. They're all very different companies, and they all have a different kind of story or feel that they're trying to tell and to express. How do small companies and small businesses, how do you come up with your voice? How do you decide, like, this is the direction that I want my social media engagement to go into? How do you do that?
I'll speak I'm speaking from wearing the hat of for my public speaking.
Okay.
So a part of what I do is I travel the world, essentially, speaking to young girls about opportunities in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And what I found as far as social media and the following is so I don't have a T-shirt to sell, I don't have a gadget to sell. Really what I want is for people to invite me to come speak for them. So what I found as a small business is really being authentic with that. It's sometimes, I think, with small businesses, you step so far out of who you are that after a while you can't be that anymore because it's a lie. right? So you have to be the best you can be. So for me, it is 100% just who I am. This is who I am. This is who I am on a day-to-day. And some days I'm really, really good, and some days I'm just not. Or, just to talk about in my authentic voice, this is what's going on with me. And then to your point, every now and then I'm sprinkling in there, hey, I went to speak here, and this is what's happening, or here is a picture of the girls. And I will tell you, about 3 years ago, just consistently being me, just being authentic, blogging about different technology type of things, but they were real true stories. Microsoft Corporation called and said, hey, would you like to come and speak at at an event in Seattle? Well, yeah, of course. But they found me on the web. I mean, they found these posts and they found these things, and the feedback that I did receive, so that I'm not lying to you, it's just like you're the girl around the corner who can actually talk about technology, not at this high level where some people would, because you're marketing your business and you're going to talk about and all this jargon, but it's talking down to earth, because if you can tell, that's just who I am. So if you come across as the authentic person that you are in social media, it translates into sales, it translates into engagements, and things will definitely blow up for you, I believe. It worked for me. Oh, thank you.
So I think I'm still trying to find my voice online, and it's a difficult thing, and sometimes you come out with a product or an idea in your head, and you don't really know if you're communicating it in the right way online, because it's almost like a very specific, I think, skill set. And when you don't have that, it's hard to kind of start with a very clear voice. But I think once you put your product out there and online, then you see who the product is resonating with, and who's reposting, and who's posting in your apparel, and who's talking about your brand, and who are these brand ambassadors. And I think really identifying who those key people are, who are really marketing the brand for you, is a way to kind of tailor your voice and be able to really hone in on who that customer is and who your message is sitting with. And I think that's been a way for me to kind of baby step my way into it and just kind of put out what I'm thinking and see who it touches. And that's really what I've picked up on and tried to continue forward.
I think when all of us start our companies, we start with this idea that there's a market for our product. There's when you start on this journey and you start to move down this direction, you start with this idea that there's a market for what we're doing. There's a market for my product. And if you didn't start with that, then please email my friend April Boyle and get signed up for the Build Institute if you haven't already. Seriously. I mean, amen to that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they do an incredible job. And this is not a shameless plug. I am not actually a Build graduate. But I have done business with and interacted with several Build graduates, and they do an incredible job of preparing people for the marketplace, and really looking at, honing in on what's your market and what's your message and who are you targeting. I think that's so important. It's one of those things where, we saw a while ago, like the guy who leads Abercrombie and Fitch doesn't even look like he should be wearing Abercrombie and Fitch, you know what I'm saying? But the whole idea behind it is that he knew his crowd, he knew his market, he knew who he was going after, and he did a great job targeting that market and targeting those people and figuring out what they want. Social media gives us an insight into people's lives and an insight into their mindsets and an insight into their what they're looking for and what they're looking to engage with. But as companies, so often, again, we use social media as just kind of this rotating advertisement for us, where we don't even take full advantage of like getting in on other people's conversations, looking at doing the market research and saying, hey, the people who would most likely follow me, who else would they be following? Well, let me go follow those people, and let me get in on those conversations and what's happening on those Twitter pages and those Facebook pages, and let me interact on some of this other stuff so I can get a better idea of what my market, what's going to resonate with my market and what's going to resonate with with the people that we're really targeting, and then you're really able to tailor your voice. We were actually just having this conversation. We do social media management. And a lot of the people that we look at as social media managers have some sort of theatrical background. And one of the reasons is because they're able to become the character. They're able to, get to know the companies and get to know the brands and get to know what it is that they're doing, and then translate that to the web as if they were playing a character on the stage or playing a character on film, so they can be as true to the brand voice as possible. So when you're looking to find your voice, really there's a couple of parts. One is, who is your brand? Know who you are and know who you aren't. And that's a big thing. A lot of people are like, well, I want to be everything because I want to capture every dollar possible, but know who you aren't. There's a story I heard about some lady that's making, I think it was somewhere around $60,000 or $65,000 a month on Etsy. And if you read her blog and you read about how she does it, it's not about having, she's got a product that you can find on 700,000 other Etsy pages. But she's focused on, she said in her blog, she said, I made a few products that I didn't release because I was like, that's not my brand. That's not who we are. So you first have to know who you are and who is your brand and who are you trying to be. That's got to be, and that has to be in sync. And then you need to know who your market is. And you need to know what conversations is your market having? What conversations are the people who would most likely be following you? What conversations are they having? And really kind of try to do your best to be a part of that and learn from that. Learn from what they're saying. Learn from, what who they're following, and learn from what they're doing, and really kind of shape your voice as it relates to social media based on those two things. Who am I trying to attract, and who am I as a company, as a brand? Who am I? And if you can't answer those two questions, again, see my friend April and sign up for a build class, and I'm sure she'll help you try to answer those two questions, because it's super important.
I just wanted to add that because, it's easy for us to sit up here and say, find your voice, right? And for some people, that could be difficult. So the piece of advice I would give you is it may be difficult to find your voice. So in that, there is some trial and error. So for example, I said, I'm going to be the technology queen. There aren't many women in technology. That's the hot thing right now. That's what I'm going to do. And so I started blogging, and I started blogging about what's the best printer to buy if you want a high quality. It was so boring to me. I wanted to just pull my eyelashes out. And so, and I'm saying that it's funny, but it's true. It's what feels good to you. What could you wake up every day and talk about? So for me, I said, I love technology and I love documentaries, right? I love telling a story. And so I had to really sit down and say, what are the things I do that make me happy? So documentary, telling stories, I love technology. So I got to a point where I started telling stories about internet safety for children. This is what happened in New York yesterday because someone was on Instagram and posted a picture of a whole bunch of money and somebody came and stole the money. Or this is what happened when someone was cyberbullied, right? And so that felt really good to me. And so it became my voice under Chief Technology Mommy. That's a whole other thing. Just invite me back, I can tell you about that. But it became my voice, and it became my voice because it felt right. And it wasn't about chasing the money, because at first that's exactly what it was about for me, and I have no shame in that. It was like, I can talk about printers and all these different things. But when I really found my voice was what made me happy. And I could do it all day. And with that, the revenue and the followers and the people came, because I think that my authenticity was shining through that. So that will help you find your voice.
Thank you. That was awesome. So let's switch gears here for a minute. We talked a lot about social media and voice and even blogging a little bit. Web design. Let's say, there's an entrepreneur out here who has no background whatsoever with web. Where do they start? Sal?
Well, I'll go ahead and take that one. So my phone number is, no, I'm just kidding. But no, when it comes to web design, I think it's like anything else. I think you really need to consider, the first thing you need to consider is your budget. The first thing you need to consider is, okay, where am I at realistically? And what can I afford? Can I afford to hire somebody to do this for me? It's kind of like, having a good accountant or having a good lawyer or having a good, representation all around. If you can afford to have somebody else do it where that's what they do, then by all means, hire somebody to do it, because that's what they do and you do what you do. That's going to help you grow a whole lot quicker. But if you can't afford to do it and you realize you need it, there's a lot of places that you can turn to kind of help you get started. Places, Wix is one of them, Wix if you haven't heard of it. Squarespace is another one. I'd probably recommend Squarespace, over the two. I think they've got a great platform that allows you to grow a little bit. But both of those are limited in the way that both of them are platforms where you can kind of, build templates and arrange stuff. But at some point, you get to the point where it's good to have a designer and it's good to have somebody that understands the world of web. And understands the market and understands where you're going for. So even those I'd look at as like, hey, we're a startup and we're just getting started. Let's kind of grab this to get us started. And then when we get to the point where we can bring somebody on again, my first rule when I sit down with potential clients is, are you at the point where, yeah, this is something I want to do? Or are you at the point where it's like, yeah, maybe that's a little bit further down the road. But when you get to the point where it's like, yeah, it's time to bring on somebody to start handling some of this creative media, then by all means, let somebody else do what it is that they do best, and you focus in on what you do best. And a lot to like what you had said, that's going to allow you to, focus on what you're passionate about. Focus on what you love doing. A lot of us got into building businesses not because we just wanted to make some money. A lot of us left good-paying jobs to take a chance, and so for that, it's like, we didn't get in this just for the idea that we're going to make money. We got into this because we were passionate about something, whether it be a social cause that we're championing or whether it be just like, hey, there's this market or this network that I'm so passionate about that I can't work in over here, so I'm gonna make the leap and I'm gonna do it. But allow yourself that opportunity. As entrepreneurs, we wear a lot of hats. And we tend to, all of a sudden you start, looking at, you've got this hat, and you have all this stuff piled up on top of your head, and if you can ever take one of those hats off and give it to somebody else, if you can afford that opportunity, then do it, because underneath all that hat, underneath all those hats is what you're passionate about. And underneath all those hats is why you started this in the first place. And a lot of times why you started this can get lost in the minutia, and then it can get lost in all this crap that we have to deal with as entrepreneurs. And the more hats you can take off and the more things you can hand out and the more you can delegate, the more you can get back to what you love and what you're passionate about and what drives you, and the happier you're going to be in your business. And so, I recommend, if you can do it, bring somebody on to make this happen. Bring somebody on to help you to make this, your website a reality. If you can't, then let what you're doing be a short-term, goal. Don't say, hey, this Squarespace or this Wix site, this is my 5 or 10 year plan. Let it be a short-term goal so you can get to the point where it's like, I don't have to worry about this anymore. So I can focus more on my product and I can focus more on my solution and I can focus more on what I'm passionate about doing.
Well, okay, this is a shameless plug, but at Sisters Code, we teach women, our program is called Weekend Website Warrior. And Weekend Website Warrior, we teach women in two Saturdays, it's all day, how to code using HTML, CSS, really not coding, but then we teach them JavaScript, so that's some coding. And we teach them this by they're actually building a website. So it's a group of women, and so let me go back, because when I named this Sisters Code, a lot of people thought it was meant only for African American women, because I'm African American if you didn't know. But what? I know, right? So this is for women. If you are a female, I don't care if you were green, doesn't matter. 25 and older, you come and learn how to build a website while you're also learning to code. And it's really just to entice women to do it. What I love about the class, and it's success to me, when some woman walks out and say, I hate this, I'm gonna pay someone to do it. That's success, because it means they're not gonna waste their time on it. Some women are like, you know what, I love it, I'm still gonna pay someone, but at least now I know the questions to ask. So even if you don't do a Sisters Code, there's a Girl Develop It that's here locally. There are some other places that you can go to do this. If you can't afford someone to do it, you may want to learn yourself. Some other organizations is Code Academy, online for free. I play around in Code Academy all the time because that's just a geek in me. Love it. I'm picking up some new language, learning something. I did a website the other day off of GoDaddy. a family member said, "Hey, can you build a website?" Sure, I can do that, and they think you're a rock star because GoDaddy gives you the templates, but they really think you are really awesome. It takes you not long to do it, but there are ways that you can do it yourself. If you don't have the budget to do it, I would say just try it. And even if you're hiring someone, I've had a lot of people to call me that don't own their own domain name. They've given power away to someone else. They have to call them to maintain the smallest little thing. A period is out of place, and you're picking up the phone, calling someone, and it's costing you a lot of money to change that picture, right? So I would say those are some of the ways you can do it. W3 Schools is also a really good site to use as well. And any of the big players, Microsoft, Google, they all have free sites that you can actually play around in.
And Roslyn, sorry to cut you off, but can you talk also about e-commerce? Because I know you have some experience in that arena. Okay, thanks.
So I'm not very technology savvy or anything, but to your point, I think it's important that you understand how to operate your own site in the event that something goes down and you need to fix it. I really needed something that was super straightforward for me to be able to go into the back end and operate it myself. So I'm currently operating on WordPress, and Squarespace is my e-commerce shop that I'm using for my online sales. And basically, the way I approached the site and the web design, I had a really small budget, but I really wanted it to be sort of heavily focused on imagery and functionality. So I want someone to go to my site and say, oh, okay, the images really sort of communicate the idea of the brand and what I want the customer to feel emotionally, and then they can click through 2 clicks and purchase a t-shirt, and it's in their checkout, and they're done. So that was really my focus. Content, not so heavy on sort of the content. Initially, I had a lot of sort of fluffy fashion, blurbs and sort of these different write-ups, but I felt like the customers weren't really reading that. They were interested in seeing what the brand was and how do I click through and shop. So that was sort of my focus. When I started, I was using Store Envy as the back end for the e-commerce shop, but I use Square for my in-person sales and for my physical shop. So I wanted to do it under one sort of program that would incorporate both my online and offline sales, which is Squarespace. So I find that to be the easiest back end, plug-in to use, and it plugs right into WordPress, and the images and everything I can update through WordPress. So that was pretty much the most straightforward way for me to start.
Cool. And I'm a web designer too. I should have mentioned that earlier, but a few other e-commerce platforms that I really like to use for my clients. I love WordPress, and I've had clients that use a platform called WP Commerce that you can kind of plug into WordPress to make it an e-commerce site. But I also really like Shopify, and I think Shopify is great too for people who have brick and mortar stores who want to, like you said, have something that's that works together. So you have your POS system in your store if you're a retailer, and then you can also have the website, and the inventory is all coming from one database, which I think is awesome. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit, at what point business owners might go out to seek out a firm, but how do you go about finding a firm to work with?
I'll take this one. So if you're looking for a firm, if you're really seeking a firm, CanfieldCreativeStudios.com. No, I'm just kidding. But if you're looking for a firm, honestly, and this is there's a lot of great players in the space, and there's a lot of great players that do some really great things, but I think the focus really becomes on what you're looking for. Are you looking for somebody that wants to come in, build you a website, and call me when you want to update it? Or are you looking for somebody who's going to kind of be there with you, help you grow, help you develop? Maybe possibly work into multiple platforms. Maybe you sit down and you realize you need more than a website, but you also would like a, about us video would be great. Or, you didn't think you were going to do e-commerce, but then you realize, oh, e-commerce would be awesome. How do we get that going? I think really, honestly, when you sit down to connect with, I hesitate to say budget is a reason to make the decision, because there's a lot of affordability in being able to farm that out, especially if you find a group that's focused on small to medium business. That I think that you'll find that there are people that are able to work within your budget to be able to help you out. So I think when you're selecting a firm, it really helps honestly to know a little bit about what you're talking about. And this is where when we talked about Sisters Code and other things out there like it. It helps to know a little bit about what you're talking about. If I say, do you want a CMS or no CMS? Does that mean anything to you? And if it doesn't, then maybe you should take the time to look it up or engage a firm that really specializes. A lot of people try to go, if they have the budget, they try to go with, let's just go with the biggest firm that's out there. But it's like, well, let's try to play in a pool where people are going to help us to understand what's going on and not just, somebody who's just like, oh yeah, one and done, let's go, just call me when it's over. But is there a group, is there a firm that's going to help you to understand, that's going to help to grow with you? I think that's really, really important. I think it's important to find somebody you play well with and that understands your vision and your goal as a company. I think that, honestly, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest factors, I think, when you're trying to engage a firm in creative media is probably just that. It's, how well do we gel together? Do I really want you to represent my brand? Do I really want you helping to design and put forward what's going to be my online store or my online presence? And I think if you don't feel that or you don't sense that, then you need to go find somebody else. I think that's a huge deal and a huge part of it. I think you have to be comfortable with who you're working with and what they're saying. There's a lot of things that go into engaging a professional firm. And I think that's probably the biggest one for me is, like who you're dealing with. Don't just deal with the biggest company because they're the biggest company or the smallest company because they can fit your budget. Like who you're dealing with and like what they bring to the table. Don't look for somebody to just be a web and media vendor. Look for somebody who's going to be a partner. Look for somebody who's as interested in you growing your business as you are in you growing your business. I think that's a really big key important part. And if you're looking for that, then CanfieldCreativeStudios.com. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm halfway kidding, but also shameless plug there all at the same time. So
when you asked that question, it brought back a memory. So I'm sitting here jot down a few notes. So when I was at CompuWare, during my last year at CompuWare, I was on loan to the city of Detroit. So you all remember when Super Bowl was here? Okay. So I served as Chief Information Officer for the city of Detroit. And what I had to do was to integrate all the technology behind Super Bowl. And so one of the things we wanted to do, we needed a more robust website, right? So my criteria, and I think that you can use this as well, is I needed someone that I could reach out and touch. Like I will walk down the street and find you if my site is broken. So local was really, really important to me. Number two, I needed someone when I called your office, and this is so not technical, so hopefully this helps you, but this is just real talk from me. I needed a real person to answer the phone. That was important to me. Are you going to call me back when you say you're going to call me back? Does your website work? I will push every button on your site, and I need to make sure every link works and everything works, because if your stuff is raggedy, you are not going to look out for me. And what else did I say? Oh, and I need someone who can meet people where they are. So if I'm sending my administrator to talk to you because I can't get there, don't talk to her with all this technical lingo that no one understands because you want to make yourself look really, really smart. We're not hiring you. I need for you to be able to meet people where they are and talk to people where they are so people don't feel crazy because they don't understand what HTML is or they don't understand what CSS, and you walk away feeling inadequate. It just brings back these nightmares, but yeah, that is what I would say is really important when you are looking for someone to develop your website.
Okay. So did you want to say something? Okay. Okay, so you guys have mentioned Squarespace, GoDaddy, WordPress, all of these different websites and tools. Are there any other kind of really helpful tools that you think would be helpful to local entrepreneurs when it comes to not just designing a website and social media, but also just increasing productivity, making their lives a little bit easier? For instance, I know Fiverr is a big website that comes up when I talk to a lot of really entrepreneurs who are like at the very beginning. They don't have any money at all. They don't have, not even $100 to spend on a logo. It's a website where you can go and pay $5 for like these really small services. Now, I will say that, the value that you get might coincide with how much you pay, but it certainly has been helpful for a lot of people. Are there any other really cool websites or tools that you know of?
Well, not necessarily websites, but just resources. I think tapping into the local universities and the Wayne States and the CCS, these kids are brilliant, and they're young, and they're ready to work, and they're hungry. And, I'm not so old, but technology is certainly moving so fast. And, to have someone fresh with a fresh eye to what's going on social media and what's going on campus and how quickly, it's moving, they're really resourceful in that way. And I've gone to Wayne State's career services, CCS career services. You can really find great interns. A lot of them will work for free just to be a part of a great startup that they believe in. So that's another resource if you don't have any capital necessarily to invest in technology in the early phases.
I would say social media-wise, look into Hootsuite if you're not on it already. Suite, like Suite, Hootsuite. They're really great platform. They're free to use. I think up to like 3 social medias, but they allow you to basically time your posts. You can write all your stuff for the week and say, I want this to go out at this time, and this to go out at this time, this to go out at this time. So they're really good entry level. And I think even beyond that, you get like 10 or 15 or so social medias that you can manage for something really relatively affordable, like $10 or $15 a month. So they're a great resource when it comes to social media management, especially if you got to do something on the fly.
Thank you. So now we have some questions from you guys. The first question is, how do you balance between too much online outreach versus too little? So this person receives entirely too much spam from corporations and would hate for their outreach on social media to be overlooked as excessive marketing. Good question.
I think honestly, a lot of it is when we look at building an online presence. And I'm just going to take this from the idea that, Canfield Creative Studios, let's say you said, hey, let's talk about our online presence and let's talk about our digital media and what we're doing and what we need to be doing. When we look at building an online presence, we look at we're building a community. This is not, again, and I keep using this term, but it's not a rotating billboard. Everything you do, social media, email blasts, your website, it's not a rotating, but you're building a community. And honestly, a lot of it has to do with, you look at things like MailChimp. MailChimp has like a kind of a double trigger, where people sign up for your email blast and then they get an email in their email that says, are you sure you want to do this? And then they have to click yes. Use stuff like that because then these are people that want to be a part of your community and they want to receive some of the stuff and things that you're doing. If you're doing something to grow and to benefit your client or grow and benefit your customer, I think it's a win. And I think that in order to avoid becoming a spammer, don't buy email addresses to be a part of your email campaign, and don't go just hey, here's all my email addresses from my old Hotmail from when I was in high school, so I'm going to bring all those in and I'm going to email all of these people and say, hey, this is my newest product. Really take the time. Yeah, it takes time because you're starting from nil, but it takes time. But take the time to grow and to build and to develop your community and develop it authentically, because if you do that, then you're going to find that there's not a whole lot of people clicking the I don't know what the hell this is, I don't want to be a part of this button. There's a lot of people that are now engaging, and your open rates grow, and your engagement grows, and eventually your conversion grows. And I think so. Really look at what you're doing online as not just spamming or just blast advertising, but you're developing a digital community that you want to cultivate and that you want to care for and that you want to grow. And I think that'll help you to avoid the whole spam, trap.
Okay. Next question is, what is the best way to gain social media followers?
I think one of the best ways we've been gaining them is really brand ambassadors. If you have a community of people who are infected by your product and infected by your brand, then they're going to repost and they're going to really advertise and market for you through their followers. So it's really identifying those key bloggers or those key featured, Instagram users who have a ton of followers and who love your product and are really growing your business organically. In that way, I think is a different approach to really, like Sal was saying, blasting an email list of maybe 50% of the people aren't really interested in hearing about your brand. So finding those people who are infected by it and having them organically really promote your brand via their existing, circle, I think is the best way to do it.
I also found that when I'm sharing something, so for instance, I'll send out a blog on something about technology, maybe it's cyberbullying or something like that, or something that affects women in technology. But then on the other hand, like tonight, I will send out an email blast for women, for the people that are in Sisters Code or all the other little entities to say, hey, tonight at Cliff Bell's, this is what's going on. Or in a couple days, Inform is having something that is free, and it is a place where you can network, or Tech Town is having something. So I stay in tune to things that are happening in the community, most of which that are free. And so I find that I have more women signing up because I'm adding some value with my blog, but they are now in the know. So now I tell them, you know what, Sisters Code is not just a thing, it's a network. This is where you can come and you can find out what's happening in your city around these topics for free. So I'm actually just sharing what we're doing organically anyway, but it's that one place where they know they can count on. I have my ear to the ground, and I'm sharing some information with them so they can come and benefit as well.
When it comes to social media and growing your social media presence, it's really there's a couple of things. One, you don't have to be the star. You don't have to be the star of the show. Okay? Be a part of other people's conversations. Find other groups that are talking about something that has something to do with what you're doing. If you're an entrepreneur here in Detroit, find other well-followed entrepreneurs and get involved in their conversations. I mean, social media is just an ongoing conversation. Get involved in their conversations because it's going to open you up to being discovered by other people. Don't be afraid to share out other people's stuff. If Cliff Bell's is having a sale on something, or they got a great night that they're having an event or something like that, share that stuff out because it's something that people are going to latch onto, and they're going to remember, oh yeah, I was following this one group and this is where I got this information. But really, honestly, I think the biggest thing is there's this concept and this thought that we keep trying to right hook everybody with, we have this sale and this T-shirt is for sale today, and we've got this special going, we've got this thing going, and we keep trying to hit people with our sales. But let's spend a little bit of time giving them content that has absolutely nothing to do with our sale. And honestly, I think, and one of the places that you see it best done is like, when you look at anybody in here ever heard of a soap opera? Anybody? Soap operas? Does anybody know how soap operas got started? Somebody does, right? Procter & Gamble. Anybody ever heard of a company called Procter & Gamble? So Procter & Gamble started they sold soaps. One of the soaps that they sold was laundry detergent. And so they were like, how can we reach housewives, in the 1950s? How can we they're the ones that are making the decision on what soap to buy, so how do we reach them? So instead of just doing a bunch of massive ad campaigns, they launched the first soap opera, which is why they're known as soap operas, for those of you guys who don't know. So they decided hey, let's think creatively around the problem. Let's create some content that people want to latch themselves onto. And then through that content, let's eventually swing a commercial or swing something in that says, hey, now buy our product. And it's the same thing with social media. Don't be looking at just, how many people can we get our product out to or our sale out to in one fell swoop. Give people content that creatively thinks around engaging a group of people or engaging a market. And then once you've engaged the market, then come in and say, okay, now we have this awesome product for you to be able to try. Don't look at turning immediate conversions right there on the spot, but look at cultivating and building a community. And then through that community, you're going to naturally turn conversions because you found loyal, brand ambassadors. And then those people are going to carry your message on to their friends and to their friends and to their friends. Does that make sense?
Okay, one last question because we only have 5 minutes left. So these questions are specific to us individually. I think this first one is for me. Are there grant dollars available for startups through your group? I am in Detroit, and yes, we do have some micro grants available I think the next kind of round of grant monies will be available in April or May. So check out IamYoungDetroit.com. Again, there might be, you might have to, I think 16 to, it could change, I don't know, but I know it starts at 16. Let's see. Can the designers update an existing site? I think that's for you, Sal. Does your creative firm update existing sites?
Yeah, we basically what we do, the way that we tackle any creative project is sitting down with the business owner, the entrepreneur, or the representative from the business that's tackling the project, and we figure out what needs to be done. When we launched Canfield Creative Studio, we said we're going to be a creative studio that handles projects on any scope, on any level, and with any creative idea in mind. And so we sit down and we isolate what are some problems, what are some things, how can we help to alleviate some of these things. And one of those is we've got this one site that we really hate, and so we want to make it a better site, and we want to make something better. So we look at, hey, is there any way we can just update what you already have? Or should we look at, would it be more cost effective and a better solution to just redesign and launch something brand new? So yeah, absolutely. We can, if we have access to, either your backend CMS or your existing servers or whatever, we can go in and update things, or we can, turn around and just say, hey, let's scrap that. Let's create something totally new, and then let's relaunch, with a 2015 idea in mind. So.
And Marlin, you have a similar question. Can Sisters Code assist in updating existing sites?
Yes, one of our goals for this year is we are actually, so what I found is there are a lot of businesses in our neighborhoods that don't have a web presence. So for instance, I have a cousin who has a barber shop. And this is just hypothetical. So if I have a cousin that has a barber shop, so now we're teaching Women in Sisters Code how to have content meetings. How do you talk to your customers? We're teaching them the skills. Now they're going to actually take those skills after these 2 weekends, and we are going to have them connect with small businesses in the city with no web presence. And they are going to work with them for free to talk to them about their business, their goals, their visions, because that's really a huge part of what we teach them. And they are then going to work as a team of 4 with one seasoned professional to help them to build a website for someone. So that is really exciting because we're able to help some other people too. So yes, is the short answer.
Thank you. So actually we have one more question I was just playing before. How are the changes Facebook made to its newsfeed policy going to affect the way businesses market to its followers? What do these changes mean? If I don't buy a Facebook ad, will my followers not be reached?
So statistically speaking, your Facebook, your followers, the people that follow you on Facebook see, upwards of about 4% of what you're posting. So I mean, it's very, very little. Facebook definitely made it to where you, if you want to buy ad space, it's going to help you gain followers. It's going to help you target the people that you already have following your news feed. But here's the good news: Facebook's algorithm works like this. It basically says, you as a person, you as an individual, like me on my own personal Facebook page, it tracks what do I like. Not just what do I like, but who do I follow? Not just who do I follow, but if I follow Sisters Code and I tend to like when they have a photo more than when they don't have a photo, then it's going to show me mostly what they have that has a photo attached to it versus what doesn't have a photo attached to it. If I like what has a video, it's going to start showing me more videos. So it's really getting to know you as a person, which is why it becomes more and more important for us as when we look at social marketing to say, okay, how can we be more like Procter & Gamble and give people what they want and what they like so that they see more of our stuff? Because the chances are that, if we're not putting out that content that they're following and that they're engaging with, and Facebook basically says if you like something or if you comment on it, then you're engaging with, or if you share it, then you're engaging with that post. And so the more stuff the more engagement you can get on your posts, the more people are going to see what it is that you do. So it's really kind of a question of how well are people engaging with what you post. If they're not engaging with it, then most of your people that follow you are not actually seeing your posts. But if you find that people are engaging with your content, then you have a higher chance that people are going to see what you're posting based on what those people like to engage with. So it's really important that we be as creative as possible when it comes to developing content. And that's why we have this idea of like, let's put out as much content as possible that people want to ingest and people want to, connect with. And then let's hit them with a sales post, because then they're more likely to see it. If you just throw out sales post after sales post after sales post and nobody ever does anything with it, most people aren't even seeing it in their newsfeed.
Thank you. Very informative. Sorry. Okay, I wanted to make one little announcement before we wrap up. I'm in Detroit has an upcoming month-long course called Retail in Detroit. Every other month, we'll be doing a master class that's housed inside of a startup where you get the chance to be mentored by that fledgling startup. Really cool. If you want more information on that or micro programs, just visit imindetroit.com. And thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned a lot.